Redditors who rage quit a job without thinking, what was the last straw? My insufferable asshole manager followed me after work to my second job because she didn't believe I had one, and was just using it as an excuse to get out early. My manager at my second job said, "There's some crazy lady banging on the doors yelling your name." So I grabbed my uniform from my bag, opened the door, threw it in her face and told her to fuck off. "I think your old manager might be a psycho." Can't believe how far she went. She was insane. It was at Blockbuster and I worked for her for less than 2 weeks before that night. She would get me to put the new movies out by taking the boxes they were shipped in, dumping them on the floor till they were all mixed up, and then having me sort them. Monsieur, I have no idea what her problem was. They also only gave me a XXL t-shirt to wear as my uniform. I normally wear a medium. It looked like a dress. I hated it so much. Sounds like she gets a kick out of berating people. Glad you left. Call center. Inbound sales. They told me I needed to have higher sales numbers and gave me training materials, tools to help. It suggested that if the customer wanted only one service we offered, that I add on other services after the call had ended and hope the customer didn't notice. I questioned this and they said that is how Dave has the highest sales for the past 6 months and I should follow his example. Yeah, no, this is illegal. Please report that fucked up practice. It was a Wednesday. I got a call from my mom when I was at work to tell me that my dad took a turn for the worse and maybe had a day or two left to live. I immediately went to the company owner, small business, and told her the situation and I really needed to leave right away since he lived a few hundred miles away. She told me she understood, but since I was working on some important projects, I should just come in on Saturday since he should be dead by then. I said okay, turned around, walked to my desk, deleted all my personal files from the computer, left my badge and keys on my keyboard, and walked out. Dad passed on Friday, and I turned off my phone at night until the following Wednesday or Thursday while I spent time with my family. I already hated the job and the owner for other reasons and found a new job a few weeks later. So I can't say I regret anything. Edit. Thank you everyone for your kind responses. This happened a few years ago. My father had dementia for a decade before this, so we were all prepared for it. Not that it made it easier, but the wounds have healed and I find I'm able to remember the good times with him more now than I did when he was so sick. I'm doing excellent nowadays, but really appreciate how much concern some people have for a total stranger's well-being. So, the building my job was in closed down at 9 p.m. Everybody except security had to get out so they could shut everything down. One of my supervisors, I had 8 of them. Yes, it was like Office Space, kept scheduling me until 9:30 p.m. Monsieur, I repeatedly brought this up at the end of the night, and was always told, no, that's just a mistake. You need to leave. Fast forward 3 months. I get called into a disciplinary meeting. The reason? I kept leaving early. I had like 8 attendance points from leaving early because one of my idiot bosses, who worked in the same building and definitely should have known when it closes, couldn't figure out how to schedule. I explained my side, which is pretty fucking obvious, and they say they'll hold off on any disciplinary action while they look into it. A couple days later they told me they weren't going to remove those attendance points. I told them to shove it up their ass, walked out, and went to a concert with some of my, now former, coworkers. Attendance points are complete horseshit in an office setting. Unless you not being in it at very specific times prevents someone else from doing their job, it serves no purpose. It's just a bunch of shit scare tactics and another bogus reason to fire you if they dislike you. Director of a preschool I worked at pulled me into her office and literally foaming at the mouth, told me I had no business going to my higher-up to report suspected child abuse. Walked out. Never looked back. If I'm not mistaken, the preschool is now shut down. My mom did the same thing. Working at a preschool in the South Bronx in the 80s, she had a little girl who would cry every time she sat down. So my mom brought her into the bathroom and asked her what was wrong. This girl had burns on her butt because her dad had sat her on a hot stove to punish her. My mom went straight to administration, where she was told they were aware of the problem and had been working with him on parenting classes since he was a single dad. This guy was already taking parenting classes and sat his -5-year-old daughter on a hot stove to punish her. My mom decided right there that she couldn't work for people who would cover this up and not report him, and that was her last day. She then went home and reported him herself. Good on you for walking out. Also puts red flags up for the director, right? No. Preschools go through staff like water through a sieve. My boss came back from his 30th smoke break that shift, saw me taking a breather after I cleaned the entire kitchen on my own, and told me to stop being so unproductive. Fuck you, Matt. Edit. I worked in the Pizza Hut inside a branch of the Big Red grocery store. God, that is such a common thing. I feel. Wanna take a smoke break? Fine. Wanna get off your feet for 10 minutes and decompress? Fuck you. Boss smokes a lot. 2 coworkers don't smoke at all. At the end of the day, those 2 just go to the kitchen, drink tea for the last 20 minutes of work day and chat about stuff. Kitchen is a bit further away from the work area, so boss never really noticed it until he did. He walked up to them, asked what the hell were they doing. One of them looked him dead in the eyes and said, "Smoking." Boss just mumbled something about smoking being bad for you and walked away. I was working at a local bike shop at the time and had a minorish surgery. The shop called me and told me I needed to come in because another mechanic called in sick. They were aware of my surgery and just didn't care. I quit during that phone conversation. I mean, presumably, you, had called in sick first due to the surgery and all that. Yep, gave them a month's notice and made sure to use vacation time. Boss not doing payroll before leaving on a business trip and leaving it to the poor office manager to tell people they weren't gonna get paid on time. I walked out of the staff meeting saying I'd be back when paychecks arrived. By the time I got home, I was mad enough to call my ops manager back and quit. Why didn't the boss do payroll? Stated answer was printer toner cartridge at home was empty. Guess you'd never heard of writing checks with a pen. My printer ink is low, so y'all don't get paid. K by WTF. What a shit thing to do to people. I started work in a bar in town and was told to be at work at 7 p.m. for my first shift, with a manager providing me with a typed timesheet showing my new working hours. Went home and had a cat nap. At 5 p.m. my new manager calls me asking where the hell I am and telling me I need to come in now. I referred him to my timesheet, which stated I was to be in at 7 p.m. To which he told me, the timesheet doesn't fucking matter. You do what I tell you. Hearing this, I politely told him that I would not be in tonight or ever. Good night and went back to my cat nap. Good on you. Where the fuck did these people crawl up from? What did he expect? Based on numerous stories from people in the food industry, he may have expected his workers to sit around all day off the clock just in case it got busy enough to have them work. I've also heard of waitresses being taken off the clock for 1 hour, so it's not even worth going somewhere else while they wait. And of course you can't work a second job if you need to be on call at any moment. I worked for a restaurant for 2 weeks that refused to teach me anything but berated me regularly for not knowing how to do anything. One day, at the daily pre-meal meeting, my boss told me that you are complete and total shit and you'll always be shit. I waited until they got busy that night, then went the fuck home and never came back. You're lucky you got out early. It took me 9 months for me to leave a job like that. Plus I never understood how they could berate you but not teach you how to do the job in the first place. Worked at Best Buy in high school. Some people from a different store transferred over and one of them took over scheduling from my Supervisor. She gave me a total of 10 hours a week, down from my usual 30 to 40. I had to save 2 checks just to pay my shitty cheap Cricket phone bill with those hours. I complained to my sub about her scheduling and they raised me to about 15 hours. I couldn't understand why or what I had done to get cut so much. When my birthday came close, I reminded her constantly to not schedule me that day, which shouldn't have been a problem considering my shit hours. She told me constantly not to worry. Schedule comes out, and that's the one day I am scheduled a full 8 hours. I try to contact her and they tell me she's on vacation and I can't change my schedule. I called to quit that same day. Then later I find out that the manager who I called when I quit had been smuggling money from the store at the moment I called her and was leaving the city. She never told anyone I called to quit. Greater than the manager who I called when I quit had been smuggling money from the store. Awesome mental image of her hugging stacks of bills and making lovey-dovey noises. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.